So another example would be in a session that I helped develop was, I don't know if you're familiar with the idea of concept mapping. And so in this classroom environment, what we did was we had participants put ideas around a concept onto sticky notes, onto Post-its, and then they would get up and start putting them up on the wall. And then as a group, they would stand back, look at them, see if there were themes that started to emerge, so people had the chance to physically manipulate the stickies, kind of move them around, group them together into themes. And then once we started to notice clusters of themes, then we started sequencing. And so it's a great way to get people up out of their seats, to start thinking about ideas, working together. And it's one of those things that you may think to yourself, well, that activity, that just won't work online. That won't translate. And true, so it may be an activity that won't translate one-to-one, but thinking through, like, what's the instructional strategy? What's the learning approach behind that activity? And then what are some of the tools that are at your disposal to do that type of hands-on activity? And so what you see over on the left here are some options in terms of different ways that you can engage participants online with what are sort of traditionally hands-on activities. And again, we tried to be agnostic to specific tools, which is why for each of these we've listed a couple of different options depending on what you and your organization use. But if you think about, real-time brainstorming, you're going to have a chance in a minute to work together in your breakout groups in a Google Doc and collaborate together. And as Melanie said, there's some instruction around that, and you'll have a spokesperson. But see, what is that experience as you're working through that? Think what that experience is like in terms of collaborating with a group online. There are other ways to do that type of kind of concept mapping. Poll Everywhere is a great tool where with a little bit of planning in advance, people can have Poll Everywhere on their phone and they can respond to a poll. And then you could put up on the screen a dynamically generated word cloud. So you can see what themes are starting to emerge and which words are starting to pop out. It's a great way to simulate that type of concept mapping activity. Other options, you could have virtual collaborative workspaces. Some of you may be familiar with Slack. It's not only a great productivity tool, but it's something that you could also think about using and setting up before your training, and then having it carry through and use after your training as well. So you could have something like a cohort that's going through your class, and they kind of meet each other and do a little bit of pre-work in this space. And then they can carry through as that cohort through your class and then continue that learning afterwards. As you're seeing here, we're using Zoom today. It's a great tool with a lot of interactive features, GoToMeeting, WebEx, depending on what other tools you use. But a lot of these tools have the ability to, at minimum, screen share. Some have application control, so you can actually let learners take control of the screen at different points. There's all the different flags in terms of raising your hands and check marks. And other, Zoom is a great tool because it has some of these more robust built-in tools like polls and the breakout rooms.